Hi, this course covers the fundamental of data science, that is level 1. This is suitable for those who want to build their career in this domain. This course gives a macro picture to them. Second, for every working professional, this is a buzzword and a future too. You can't run away. Hence, be updated timely so that it gives you confidence, and yes, no harm in showing off sometimes. So, we'll start with the common myths. Myth number 1: PhD is mandatory to become a data scientist. Well, to understand this, let us broadly divide the role of data scientist into two categories: applied data science role and research role. It is important to understand the distinction between these two roles. The applied data science is mainly about working with existing algorithms and understanding how they work. In simple terms, an algorithm is a step-by-step procedure to solve logical or mathematical problems. Here the word existing algorithm is very important. That is, you are not creating new algorithm. In other words, it is all about applying the existing techniques in your project. You don't need a PhD for this role. Now, most of the people fit into this category. Most of the openings and job description you see or hear about are for these roles. But what if you are more interested in a research role or creating new algorithms? Then yes, you might need a PhD. Creating new algorithms from scratch, researching them, writing scientific papers, etc. These fit into a PhD candidate's mindset. So that was myth 1. Now covering myth 2. It is necessary to have a computer science, maths or statistics background. Well, the answer is these people will have an advantage. However, it is important to understand that data science is a new field. Hence, most of the concepts would be new to all. And to summarize, these myths often make you feel like only genius can work in data science. This is just not true. The reality is that whether you are a recent graduate, an experienced professional, or a leader, it is important to understand how data science works and you will find your place in the industry. And second, it is the future and it is the current buzzword. So it is always good to be updated what is happening in the industry or for the things for which the future is extremely bright. And we'll cover more about it shortly. Thank you. So here we'll talk about what is data science and what is big data. So what is data science? Data science is an interdisciplinary field that uses scientific methods, processes, algorithms, and systems to extract knowledge and insight from data, structured and unstructured data. Main is to extract knowledge from data. Now, what is structured and unstructured data? Well, structured data is clearly defined data, example in MS Excel, and unstructured data, everything else, including formats like audio, video, social media postings, etc. Now, let us see unstructured data in more detail. So these are the examples. In media, audio and video files, images, text files, PowerPoint presentations, chat logs. Social media, data from social networking sites like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. Then we have mobile data, an example is text messages. Then communication, it could be chat or call recordings. So these are few of the examples of unstructured data. With time, quantity of unstructured data is increasing at more speed. Hence, to summarize, data science is an interdisciplinary field that uses scientific methods, processes, algorithms, and systems to extract knowledge and insight from data, structured and unstructured data. Now, what is big data? Big data is a field that treats ways to analyze, systematically extract information from, or otherwise deal with data set that are too large or complex to be dealt with by traditional data processing application softwares. Now let us understand big data on these three parameters: volume, velocity, and variety. Volume, the size of data; velocity, the speed at which data is generated; variety, the diversity of sources, formats, quality, structure. So here it is in more detail. So data volume is huge chunks of data, data velocity, how frequently it is changing, and data variety from different formats. Now the data science principle applies to all the data, whether it is big data or small. I hope it is better now. Now let us talk in more detail. So data science lies on three main pillars: domain expertise, computer science, and maths. You could be in any domain: healthcare, retail, HR, marketing, etc. So that comes the domain expertise, so that you understand the problem or data much better. Then you have computer science, to use programming language or to extract data. Then we have maths, to understand data better. So this was the background of data science. So now the applications of data science. Well, the answer is applications are unlimited. So these are few of them if we go by industry. So these are into e-commerce, manufacturing, banking, healthcare, transport, finance, and they are actually unlimited. You can pause this video if you want to read in more detail, right? Now the use cases of data science. So if we talk about Facebook, Amazon, Uber, Bank of America, Airbnb, Spotify, so these are just few of the companies. Otherwise, almost all the big companies are using data science. Even mid-size and small-scale companies have also started using data science actively, right? So about the steps of data science. Well, this is a very popular methodology, CRISP DM lifecycle. So the key steps are, we start with business understanding, then data understanding, data preparation, modeling, evaluation, and deployment. So let us talk about each one in more detail. So business understanding deals with what does the business need or what's the problem. Then data preparation, how do we organize the data? So here data cleansing and transformation is done. Example, some information might be missing. There you might substitute with an average, for example. Also, correction of outliers are done. Outliers are extreme values that deviate from other observations on data. So might be because of an error or exceptional scenario. Example of an outlier is that you are taking average salary of all the people who are present in a club. But by chance on that day Warren Buffett was also there. Hence the average salary of these people in the club would show, right? So we check these outliers, and other data cleansing steps are done at this stage. So this is data preparation. So next comes is modeling. What modeling techniques should we apply? Models in simple terms are algorithms or calculation you will apply on this data. Example, you have scores of students of a class. You apply equal to average function of MS Excel to get the average score of the class. But here obviously in data science it is much more advanced. Then comes the evaluation, which model or algorithm best meets the business objective here. And then finally the deployment. Now let us understand this with an example of a bank. Every bank wants to analyze how risky it is to offer a loan or approve a credit card to an applicant. The approval or rejection is normally based on some analysis, right? Now, how it can be done in data science? So, step number 1, business understanding. What does the business need? The objective here is to predict the risk factor of every potential applicant. Then comes the data understanding. What data do we have or what data do we need? Here you consider different sources of data. and data from these multiple sources is likely to have heterogeneous data formats. You don't require all the information, hence you pick relevant variables. Then comes the data preparation. How do we organize the data for modeling? Maybe by changing format or dealing with missing data and outliner here. Then comes the modeling. What modeling technique should we apply? There are many types of modeling which will be discussed shortly. Then comes the evaluation. Which model best meets the business objective? Then you evaluate if it is giving correct results or not. And finally, the implementation or deployment. And remember, this is an iterative process. So let us start with the common terminologies. So if we see data science, so I know it is looking very complicated. So these are just different buzzwords and different technologies. So let us make it simpler, or you can pause this video, and if you are interested in reading this, that would be good. Otherwise, let us make this simpler. So this is the simpler version, and this is simplest of all. So we have already covered what is data science. The three main pillars are domain expertise, computer science, and maths, right? So let us talk about the related terminologies now. So if we talk about artificial intelligence, in computer science, AI research is defined as the study of intelligent agents. That is, any device that it perceives its environment and take actions that maximizes its chances of success at the same goal. In simple terms, ability to learn and reason like humans. Next is machine learning. It is an application of artificial intelligence that provides systems the ability to automatically learn and improve from experience without being explicitly programmed. Machine learning focuses on the development of computer programs that can access data and use it to learn for themselves. Now let us compare it with cooking example. So first is the spaghetti or pasta that you want to create, or that is the objective. Next, you require ingredients. Similarly here you require data. Then we have ingredient preparation. So you dice it, you clean it, you chop it. Similarly, we have data engineering where we do the data preparation. And then we have cooking techniques, and similarly here we have machine learning. Then goes the cooking utensils. You require some utensils to actually cook food. So similarly, you have architecture or tech here. And then you have chef expertise, and similarly you have domain knowledge or data scientist over there, right? Now let us talk about natural language processing, or that is called NLP in short. It is the ability of a computer program to understand human language as it is spoken. NLP is a component of artificial intelligence. Then we have sentiment analysis. It is a process of computationally identifying and categorizing opinions expressed in a piece of text, especially in order to determine whether the writer's attitude toward a particular topic, product, etc. is positive, negative, or neutral. And then finally, to summarize with data science, so it is a study that deals with identification, representation, and extraction of meaningful information from data sources to be used for business purposes. So we'll cover 4 stages of data analytics here. At the bottom is descriptive analytics. So this covers what actually happened in the past. Then we have diagnostic. Why did it happen? So it tries to diagnose the reason for that result. Then we have predictive analytics. So that will tell what will happen in future. And then we have prescriptive analytics. How can we make it happen? So what all changes need to be done so that we can come on our expected results, right? So these are 4 different stages. So now let us talk in more detail with an example. So here the example that we are taking is attrition in a company. So attrition basically deals with how many people are leaving the organization. So if we talk about descriptive, so example, the attrition is 40% for the last year. So it tells about what happened. Then we have diagnostic. So if we want to find the reason why the attrition is so high, it's 40%. So we try to diagnose here. So example, it could be people are not happy with the work culture. Then we have predictive. So it will tell what will be the attrition for the next year. And then we have prescriptive. So what we should do to control it, or what, so example, we want the attrition not to exceed 30%. So what all changes we need to do so that it comes at 30%. So that's come into prescriptive, right? Now we'll be talking more about predictive analytics. So now we'll talk about the possible predictive problems that you could face. First is classify. It puts data in categories. Classification models are best to answer yes or no questions, or we can say predict binary outcomes. Example could be, will this customer churn? Will this loan default? Right? Then we have forecast. Forecast numerical value usually. Possible scenarios could be price for the product or how long will this machine last. And then we have outliners, or where to identify odd behavior. Example, is this transaction fraudulent or is this claim fraudulent? Then we have clusters. Cluster, it groups into further segments. An example, customer segment for targeting or patient segment for better care. Then we have time series. Time series model focus on data where time is the input parameter. This time series model works by using different data points taken from the previous year data or previous duration data to develop a numerical matrix that will predict trends within a specified period. Example, forecast for the next 5 days, what would be the sale for next 3 months, or what could be the number of customers for next 5 days. And if organizations want to see how a particular variable changes over time, then they need a time series predictive analytics model. So this was the basic. Thank you. Hi, so in this we'll cover the categories in machine learning model. There are two main categories. One is supervised machine learning and second is unsupervised machine learning. There is one more category too, but to keep it simple right now, we're covering only these two categories. And to understand them, let us understand what is label data and what is unlabeled data. So when we talk about label data, so it is the data that comes with label or name. So as you see in the first picture, so you can see there are few items which have the name of car. Then unlabeled data, so data that comes without a label or name. Some examples of unlabeled data might include photos, audio recordings, videos, news articles, tweets, x-rays, etc. And you can see in the second picture, there is no specific label or name to the items. And the main concept is there is no explanation, label, tag, class, or name for the features in data. Now, coming back on what is supervised machine learning and unsupervised machine learning. So, supervised learning is a type of machine learning where the data you put into the model is labeled. Label simply means the outcome of the observation is known. Now, definition of unsupervised machine learning, and as you may have guessed, unsupervised learning is the opposite of supervised learning when it comes to label data. So let us see few examples. This is an example of supervised machine learning. Here you see in the input, you have specific names to the data. Then you have model training, and then at the output, you have specific labels. And if we see an example of unsupervised learning, then here the input data that is not labeled. There is no specific name to the input data. And if you see in the output, they are segregated on the basis of their common features, right? So this is an example of unsupervised learning. Thank you. Hi. So here we'll talk about main categories of supervised learning model, their classification and regression. To understand what is classification and what is regression, first let us talk about what is discrete and what is continuous. So when we talk about discrete, they are whole numerical values, typically counts, example number of visits to dentist or number of customers who entered the store. And if we talk about continuous, so they can take any value within a range, example height in centimeter, pocket depth in millimeter. So these are few of the examples. Now how are they related with classification and regression? Is that in classification it deals with one or more discrete labels, whereas in regression it deals with continuous quantity. An example, so if we see on the first side the outcome, so there is discrete values, so hence it is an example of classification. And on the right hand side it could be any value within a range, right? So that comes out to be regression. Another example of the same is, example, you have a class of students and here if the output is gender, so gender could be limited, right? Hence it becomes an example of classification. Now height could be any number within a specific range, hence that comes out to be an example of regression. And if we talk about the applications, so classification is mainly used to predict a categorical result, and regression is mainly used to find a relationship between variables. These are their applications, common applications. So we have covered supervised learning models. In this we'll be covering unsupervised learning models, the different types. So as we know that in unsupervised learning model, the data is not labeled, it's unlabeled data. And if we talk about types of algorithm used, then there are mainly two types. One is clustering and other is association. Now what is clustering and association? Let us see. A clustering problem is where you want to discover the inherent groupings in the data, such as grouping customers by purchasing behavior, or grouping the items by color, or grouping the items by shape, or grouping the items with size. So that is clustering. Now when we talk about association, an association rule learning problem is where you want to discover rules that describe large portions of your data, such as people who buy a new house most likely to buy new furniture. So that is association. So these are two types. And to summarize, so in machine learning, there are two types, supervised machine learning and unsupervised machine learning. And remember, we have third category as well, but here we'll be covering only two. And in supervised machine learning, there is classification and then we have regression. In classification, we had output as a discrete value, and in regression, it was from a range of values. And if we talk about clustering, so they are making groups as per common characteristics, and in association they are finding the association and just looking at the patterns. Example, if a customer buy a new house, then most likely to buy a new furniture. So that was the summary of machine learning algorithms. Thank you. Hi, so here we'll talk about who are data scientists and what are the commonly used technologies in data science. So let us start. Who are data scientists? Well, a data scientist is a genuine combination of a hacker, an analyst, a communicator, and an advisor. They help the decision makers in so many different ways by interacting and interpreting the provided data for some specific business purpose, and also contribute a lot towards the all-around development of any organization. And we have already seen this figure before. So the main pillars are domain expertise, computer science or programming language, and maths or statistics. So when we talk about domain expertise, it is a key component of data science because it provides a context for all data science endeavors. Without any understanding of how domain functions and what are the requirements and challenges, the data scientist would not know how to generate key insights and process the data. Then we have computer science or programming language. Well, programming languages are used by data scientists to perform various operations or steps involved in project lifecycle, like from importing the data to model deployment. Then we have maths or statistics. Statistics is a broad concept that deals with collection, analysis, interpretation, presentation, and organization of any data. All data analytics algorithms use several statistical principles for data analysis. So that was the basic pillars. Now coming on the technologies that are used. So Python versus R. Well, Python and R are the most commonly used programming languages for data science. If we talk about Python, this language is becoming popular amongst all the data scientists. Python lets you work faster, is flexible, and uses elegant syntax that is easy to learn. It works on multiple platforms such as Windows, Mac, Linux, Raspberry Pi, etc. and it is open source and free to learn. Then we have R. R is a language and environment for statistical computing and statistical graphics. The open source platform offers many features which are useful for statistical analysts and representations. Then we have different libraries in Python. Well, to understand this, let us understand what are libraries. Well, a library is a collection of functions and methods which allow the users to perform actions without a lengthy code for performing that task. That is, they are already inbuilt functions that makes the work easier. If we talk about the common libraries in Python, then they are Pandas. This helps in data manipulation and analysis. NumPy. This helps in performing complicated mathematical calculations for large data sets. Then we have Matplotlib. This helps in plotting different types of graphs in Python. So these were few of them, but there are many. Then we have Hadoop and Spark. Well, Hadoop, that is Apache Hadoop, allows data storage and easily process large amount of data. It uses distributed file system to speed up computing and eliminate the risk of failure. And if we talk about Spark, it is easy to use and comes with high-level libraries that includes support for SQL queries, machine learning, and graph processing. Then we have different data visualization tools. Well, visualization of data is one of the very important tasks for a data scientist. Data visualization tools helps a data scientist to communicate and interpret the statistical properties and hidden insights of data in an understandable, attractive, and efficient way. An understanding of tools like Tableau, QlikView, and Microsoft Power BI enhance a data scientist's ability to explain key findings. And Tableau is the most widely used visualization tool among all the data scientists. So that was the basic of the whole course. I hope you really enjoyed and learned the basic concepts of data science. Thank you.